Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session. This is all about employability and post-study work opportunities in Ireland. My name is Barry. I work for Education in Ireland. So this is the Irish government body that promotes Ireland as a location for higher education. Organising today's fair. As you know, we've got 20 of Ireland's higher education institutions that are here today, and the Irish Government Visa Office is there too. So hopefully you'll have plenty of time to talk to those institutions and the Visa Office, and we're here for another few hours. So have a great event. Now, what we're going to talk about is the post-study work opportunities. And I know a lot of you here are interested in master's programs and looking for postgraduate study options. Some of you as well are looking at undergrad, and this is relevant for you as well. But I know for master's students, this is something that is really at the forefront of your minds, because in Ireland, master's programs are 1 year, generally one academic year, usually from September to the following May, and then you're kind of graduating and you're looking for your next move in terms of your career. So it can go by quite fast. So it's good that you're already thinking about what happens after your program. So just to start, a little bit of background about Ireland. We're known as the Emerald Isle because the country is very green. There's a lot of wide green open space. And we have a low population of about 5 million. So it's a very it's a small country. It's a small population, and we get a lot of visitors. We get a lot of tourists. There's a big tourist industry in Ireland. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Um, but yeah, it's a good place for international students. It's a lot of green, open fields, fresh air, and loads of outdoor activities. We're also known as sometimes as the Silicon Valley of Europe, and you might have heard of that. The reason for that is that the high number of ICT companies that are based in Ireland. A lot of US companies, companies from all over the world, have Ireland as their European headquarters. So this is a scene from Dublin. This is the Docklands in Dublin, where a lot of industries are based. Um, Ireland is now the only majority English-speaking country in the European Union following Brexit, which, as you may know, was the exit of the UK from the European Union. Um, and that's significant in the sense that Ireland receives a lot of European funding into the kind of the research and innovation scene, into the higher education institutions. So, students that are looking for PhDs, for example, will often be able to access EU funding that come into the Irish higher education institutions. So I suppose we're kind of a very committed member of the EU, and it is definitely a benefit in terms of higher education, research and innovation. I just want to make a few key points in terms of, I suppose, the ecosystem of Ireland as a location for higher education, world-class research, and career opportunities. Hopefully, you can read that. I know the writing is a little bit small. I'll just read through these points. So Ireland has a highly skilled, educated, young, and multicultural population. We actually have the youngest population in Europe. So we have a lot of Irish graduates and young people that are going through the university system. However, we do need international graduates as well, because we do have a shortage, a skills shortage in a lot of areas, particularly in the technical fields. In the STEM areas, so in engineering, computing, and science. So the education system is among the best in the world. It's ranked in the top 10 globally as an education system that meets the needs of a competitive economy. And what that means is that in Ireland, the Irish higher education institutions are very closely linked with industry. So a lot of lecturers and a lot of the academics that are teaching in the institutions come from industry, are still working in industry, very practical. So in Ireland, a lot of the programs are extremely practical. They work alongside the big players in the various industries. Um, and that's definitely a benefit to the students because the projects that you'll be working on are so practical that you're very much employment ready when it is time to graduate from your program. So Ireland has a small, highly globalized economy with a well-established multinational sector. So I suppose the reason why so many multinational companies have their headquarters here, and there are over 1,000 of them across all various sectors, I suppose there's several reasons. The first is we're an English-speaking country in the EU, the only English-speaking country in the EU now. We have highly skilled graduates, and the companies very much value that. There's also favourable tax incentives from the Irish government that incentivizes international companies to come and base their headquarters in Ireland. And of course, it's being in the EU, you have access to the EU market, and Ireland is also like a stepping stone between Europe and the US. So there's a number of factors that mean that a lot of international companies have their headquarters in Ireland. Ireland ranks first globally for attracting and retaining international talent. And part of that is what the higher education institutions are doing in offering very up-to-date, very relevant programs at undergraduate and postgraduate level. So they're attracting, you know, very talented students that are ambitious, that are looking for career opportunities, and then they go on and graduate, and they can stay in Ireland or they can work globally. As I mentioned, Ireland is now the only majority English-speaking country in the EU, and companies operating in Ireland have access to a labour pool of almost 250 million people across the EU. I just wanted to talk about a few specific industries, just to pick out some examples. So medtech, medical technologies. Ireland is home to 18 of the top 25 global medical device companies. We're the second largest exporter of medtech products in Europe. University research and government-supported R&D centres are very much driving medtech innovation in Ireland. And over 300 Irish medtech companies work across diagnostics, medical devices, digital health, and manufacturing. And as you can imagine, given the last couple of years, this is very much a sector that is growing, that is looking for talent, looking for skills. All to do with medical devices, medical technologies, digital health, and manufacturing. Big data. I know we get a lot of students from all over the world, really, that are looking to study data science, data analytics. And, Ireland really is at the home of big data. There's a huge number of opportunities in this field. And I suppose what's interesting is that data graduates can go into so many different industries: healthcare, finance, transportation, smart cities. So, there's a whole range of industries in Ireland that are looking for graduates in data. And Ireland is home to many global analytics hubs of multinational brands like IBM, Deutsche Bank, Pramerica, United Health Group. They're just a few examples. In terms of software, Ireland's very much a global technology hotspot. 8 of the top 10 global software companies have their European headquarters in Ireland. The country's concentrated tech industry spawns a rich stream of world-class talent and startups. So, you have the kind of the multinational sector, and side by side with that, you have the Irish startup scene and all of the indigenous companies, smaller companies, but very dynamic. And there's a really good ecosystem that links together, smaller startup companies, high potential startups, with the multinational companies that are there as well. Fintech is another interesting sector. It obviously combines the finance sector with the tech sector, and that's something that's very much growing as well. I mean, Ireland is home to more than 250 of the world's leading financial services firms, and we're actually the fourth largest exporter in the world, in the EU, of financial services. And there's plenty of fintech related programs available as well. You can talk to the institutions today about that. This is kind of a snapshot of some of the big names that you will see uh, in various sectors. So you can see there ICT, you've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Amazon, Google, you've got IBM, Vodafone, they're all there. Food and agri-food is also a really big industry in Ireland. We do have a kind of an agricultural tradition in Ireland, but there's some very big food and agri-food companies here, including Glanbia, Kerry, Danone, Pepsi and Coke are also here, the Irish Dairy Board. Loads of opportunities for graduates in that sector. Marine energy is also there, very interesting growing sector. Engineering, all kinds of engineering. Um, Pharma and medical devices, I mentioned some of that earlier as well. You've got Novartis, P&G, Boston Scientific, and on the financial services side, all of the big names are there too. Um, a lot of these companies will take part in the careers fairs that you will find that happen on campus all across Ireland. So there may be virtual fairs, there may be physical fairs where companies that are recruiting graduates will come in onto campus to meet the current students, particularly master's students. That happens a lot in springtime. So from February, March, April, every year there's a lot of activity around recruitment and careers fairs. So look out for that. All of the institutions will have a careers office. So, it's important to kind of keep an eye on what's being offered. They may do workshops on preparing your CV, your LinkedIn profile, updating, all of that. So I would say engage with that as early as you can. Particularly for master's students, you're going to be very busy from September onwards, but, do kind of get involved in what's happening with the careers office as well, because the sooner you kind of get familiar with how things work, the better. This is just some of the images of some campuses around Ireland. I picked these out. You can see we have a lot of beautiful old campuses, um, and yeah, they're very popular. Like these old traditional style buildings are all there. Now we do have a lot of newer, very modern, high tech buildings as well, alongside these traditional ones, and you'll find the facilities in Ireland very much high tech across all of the campuses. Um, I just want to go back to one thing, actually. I mentioned these industries. I know we have students that are interested in hotel and hospitality as well. And this is a sector that's definitely rebounding after a difficult couple of years. And Ireland really is also a hub for this sector. We've a really strong tradition in hospitality and hotel management. And I think it's fair to say that career options are definitely definitely be growing again following difficulty with the pandemic. Um, and again, so what Ireland offers at postgraduate level is the 24-month stayback option. Um, so that allows you to stay on in Ireland for 2 years following the end of your program. To look for career opportunities. Now, when that happens, then you have the opportunity to extend that, convert that into a work permit, and that can be extended in the longer term with the support of your employer. But the first step is to avail of the 24-month stay back. The visa office is here today, so if there's any queries you have around that, or the longer term opportunities and how that works, please talk to the visa office. And yeah, I would say just after this session, go back in, speak to as many institutions as you can. You will know that you know the institutions in Dublin are there. Dublin is obviously the capital, but we've got higher education institutions from all over the country: Galway, Limerick, Cork, Letterkenny, Athlone, Waterford, Sligo. So there's a real range, and I think for some of you, you'll be keeping in mind that the cost of living is probably lower. It is lower in a lot of the other regional cities, lower than the capital, Dublin. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, So I'm just going to finish there and see what questions there might be before we wrap up the session. So I'll just have a look. So I have a question there. How is architecture in Ireland in job opportunities? Um, yeah, architecture and civil engineering are quite big at the moment. There is a lot of construction happening in Ireland. Um, if you look at the Dublin skyline, you see a lot of cranes. In terms of residential building, commercial building, industrial. So I think with the economy going very well at the moment, there are good opportunities in the likes of architecture and civil engineering. Scope for accounting or auditing, yeah, definitely. I think that the on the business side, financial services, accounting, auditing, there is a need for that. There's definitely career opportunities there. Um, is there a stay back option for undergraduate students as well? Yeah, so undergraduate students get 1 year stay back, so you get 12 months, whereas the postgraduate gets 2 years. What about post-study work opportunities in the field of marketing and advertising? Definitely digital marketing is booming, and I think advertising it's all digital now. You know, what you should do is talk to the institutions that you're applying for. A lot of them will have profiles of graduates, including international graduates, non-EU graduates, and where they're working now. So obviously, a lot of industries are looking for marketing and advertising graduates. Um, I would say it's probably a bit more competitive than some of the technical subjects like software, like data science. Um, but certainly there are plenty of non-EU graduates that have pursued career opportunities in marketing and advertising. Um, what about management graduates? Is another question here. Um, I think so. There's two things. One is management as a master's. If you have an engineering or a technical background with a management master's, that's a very sought after role because it's combining whether it's engineering or science with a management postgrad, and I think that's a really good combination of skills. Um, Business and management, again, there's a need for those graduates. It's a bit more competitive if you have business and or marketing plus management. But again, I would say look at the profiles of students that have graduated in those fields and see what they are doing now. How many intakes are there and what is the deadline? So normally, the intake starts in September, every September. A few institutions do have an intake in January, but the majority, it's all in September. In terms of um, the deadlines, there's no strict deadline really. When courses are kind of reaching capacity and they start filling up, then they will close. So you need to talk to the institution that you're applying to. But they are taking applications all the time. So I'd say if you're interested, you need to get your application in fairly quickly. Um, I'm just looking to see if there's any other uh, questions. Supply chain management, somebody asked there. Yeah, supply chain is a very is an interesting topic. It's niche. It's something that a lot of industries are looking for graduates in. Especially following Brexit, which had an impact on supply chains in Ireland. That's there has been a need for more specialists in graduates looking at supply chain solutions. Um, but I think if you're applying to supply chain, the uh, the institution that you are applying to will kind of give you a good insight into career options for that. Um, Post-study work for pharma graduates. Yeah, definitely. We have a very big pharma sector in Ireland. You would have seen on the slide there some of the big names that are active in pharma. Um, so I would say absolutely. Do you have PhDs in Irish institutions? And is it fully funded? So PhDs, there's no central application process. You need to apply to really the research team that's in your specific field. So for PhD students, you should really do a little bit of research yourself, identify who are the top professors and researchers in your area, look at all the top universities in Ireland. Um, and they may have an opening for a PhD researcher. They may have funding themselves, so the funding really is within the team. They may get that from the Irish government, may get it from the EU or elsewhere. But if you're a PhD student, you really have to kind of self-direct um, your kind of research and look at in detail at the teams that are good, would be a good match for you. I'll just take a couple of more questions. What about the consulting industry in Ireland? Yeah, I mean, all of the top consulting companies are here. Deloitte, Ernst& Young, PwC, big companies, big client base for them, obviously, with all of the multinational sector that are here. So they do a lot of recruiting of graduates, all of these big consultancy companies and smaller ones as well. But definitely, good career opportunities there. Um, Yeah, I mean, people are asking about all their different industries. What I would say is what I said a bit earlier is when you're applying to one of the institutions, they will tell you more about the career opportunities because they have this sort of profiles of graduates from that particular course you're looking for, and they'll be able to say, look, this is where the graduates are working. So that's really where to take the conversation next. It's to get a good insight in, let's say last year's graduates, where are they now, the previous year, and all of that information is there. And often what they will do is they will connect you with some graduates that are working now and have their careers kind of going, whether it's in Ireland or elsewhere, and that kind of gives you an insight directly from the graduates as well. So look, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I know there's plenty of questions, but I suppose I'd say go back into your institution, put those questions there about the post-study career opportunities, and be specific about the particular program. And I think you should get all the answers to those questions there. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of the event.